world after only 50 days in office. We've come to Kenya, where a decision made thousands of miles away in Washington is threatening some of the world's most vulnerable people. We're driving through one of Nairobi's poorest neighbourhoods, a place where thousands of people have depended on American aid for years. Now President Trump has turned off that tap almost completely. We've come to investigate what impact that is having on people's lives here and what it means for their future. We're joining health workers on their rounds. This place is desperately poor. People live down sewage-infested alleys, in small, cramped buildings, and tiny one-room homes.
This house is very small. Enter one by one. This is a problem. The child has no weight.
First on the rounds is Anne, a single young mother who's HIV positive. Anne is totally dependent on medicine and food that was supplied by US aid. But now all that is in doubt. She's also waiting for test results to see if she's passed on the virus to her baby. And is terrified for the future.
Zinaweza enda hivyo ziishe na unajua hizi ndio vitu tutategemea. So zile the medicine was inanipa at least ndame ni nguvu na protection. Sasa hakuna naona so protector wa mwili wangu hayuko, so anything can just pass through me. Yeah.
We had no warning. It was so sudden.
How worried are you?
Very worried. Very, very worried. My worst fear is that we are going to lose children at the age of 5, especially those breastfeeding from positive mother, because of this cat. And it is going to be worse.
How many children do you think?
Over 20,000 children across several counties that are covered by our organization.
In the area you cover, your area, your charity, you think 20,000 children?
Yes, yes.
It's the same story wherever we go. In another one-room home, we find Irene, who's also HIV positive, with 3 children, all with different health problems of their own. Jesse is how old?
Tomorrow is turning 2.
He's 2 tomorrow. Happiness, how old are you?
8.
8. And Joseph, how old are you?
6.
6. She is also The Trump administration has ended 90% of its aid contracts with immediate effect. The decision's being fought over in the US courts, but its impact is already being felt across Africa. So we've flown about 45 minutes west of Nairobi to a place called Kisumu. It's a much more rural area, so different kinds of problems. But we're being told that the American aid cut is having just as drastic an impact here as in Nairobi. We go to a hospital on the edge of town. These places were hubs for US aid to dispense their medicine. We're shown the hospital's storerooms. So this is for treatment for people who are HIV positive? Yeah. With no deliveries since the cut, Joseph, the pharmacist, tells us they've got just 2 months of supplies left. For some drugs, less than a month for others. Fear, he says, is rising among the patients.
They keep on asking, what is going to happen after this?
So they're stockpiling the drugs?
Yeah, they're trying to pile the drugs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they're worried they can't get more?
Yeah, pick it anywhere they can get more, then pile them in their homes so that they can use it for the longest time possible.
Not all Kenyans, though, see Donald Trump in the same light. Donald Trump is actually quite popular in Kenya amongst many because of his conservative politics on gender and trans issues, for instance. We're going to church now to see what Christians make of his aid cuts here. For evangelical Christians, Donald Trump has been viewed as a hero, fighting for their values.
I'm a medical practitioner. We either have males or females. And so I agree with him because from the point of creation, that is what I understand.
But they are all worried by the aid cuts. Peter told us Africa is too dependent on aid, but Trump was wrong to cut it so suddenly.
He wants to make America great again. I don't know, because we see America as great, but maybe he has to make it greater. If that is what he wants to do for the country, it is okay, it is good. A country should benefit its people. Yeah, but in the long run, our country should also extend an olive branch to others.
Today, their bishop is telling the faithful to pray that Donald Trump reverses his decision on aid. There is a sense of bewilderment. The US president has taken such drastic action against some of the world's poorest people. But also, it may not be good for America either. Back in Nairobi, we're going on safari. Not to look at the animals, but to see what America's rivals have been up to in Africa. America and China have been battling for power and influence across Africa. America using aid, education, healthcare and promoting democracy. The Chinese doing this, building massive infrastructure projects like this $14 billion railway line from Nairobi to the coast right through this national park. Now, by shutting down its aid programs, America is effectively deserting that battlefield, leaving a vacuum for the Chinese to fill. From here, that feels less like America first and more like America in retreat. On a Chinese-built airport expressway, we're heading out of Nairobi now to leave Kenya, on the way back to Europe, going somewhere else, also facing an uncertain future in these fast-changing times, but for very different reasons. We're on our way to the edge of the free world. We're in one of NATO's newest member countries, Finland, and we're driving towards its border with Russia. So the Russians are just over there in those blue buildings?
Yeah, that's right, that's right.
We're joining Finland's border guard. The border was closed with Russia because of the war in Ukraine. There are tensions with people in the area reporting sightings of drones. Recruits are training to repel a border intrusion with live fire. There's been a surge in people joining up because of the situation.
For the defense of our own country. Most of us, I think, are here because of that. We have 1,300 and something kilometers border with Russia, and it's pretty long. We have to have good men there.
To defend it?
Yeah.
And what do you think about the situation with Russia?
I don't know. A country that you cannot trust anymore.
When you watch the news, what do you think?
I think it's crazy. When you turn your TV on today, you can't know never what is really happening.
What's that make you feel about the world?
Pretty nervous, but I really trust our leaders then. It's all about the trust.
Finland has historic reasons not to trust Russia and is now even more on its guard.
Stand by.
And it's not just the military. More and more civilians are also training to handle guns. Hundreds of new shooting ranges opening up since the start of the war to meet rising demand.
The situation in Ukraine, people are noticing that, well, we maybe need to be ready to take care of ourselves. And when you know how to handle arms, it makes you feel that you are doing your own part to prepare.
Are people worried about the situation, do you think?
More or less. Some are more, some are less. But I think that it's generally, people start to think about it.
Were you surprised when you heard that Trump's decided to suspend all aid to Ukraine?
Well, I think it's a part of his making his point.
Does it worry you, or...?
Yeah, a lot.
Donald Trump worries you?
Yeah.
What in particular?
Well, he's quite unpredictable.
And that makes you worry about your own security?
Yeah, my own and everybody else's.
But if it did come to a situation where things got more dangerous, you would be prepared for it?
Yeah. bring it on.
Putin, Trump, Ukraine. Finns are watching events unfold warily. It is the shadow of an old enemy looming across this border that is focusing minds here and right across Europe, but also massive doubts about an old friend. Under Donald Trump, the US is not just withdrawing from Europe, it looks like it might be switching sides, deserting the West entirely, cutting off aid for Ukraine, attacking allies with tariffs, and talking about taking over its neighbours. So what's it like to live somewhere Donald Trump says he wants for America? We went to Greenland to find out.
We need Greenland for national security and even international security.
So we've arrived in Greenland just a few days after Donald Trump repeated his ambition to take it for America, something he says is going to happen one way or another. That's been condemned by the government here as unacceptable, but we're here to see what the people of Greenland make of him. The appeal of the place is obvious when you get here. Stunning natural beauty, mineral wealth.
Coming swell.
You are great divers. You don't leave me around.
That's mad.
He's on. No, he's on.
You can do this. I'm not losing a diver today.
Last breath.
But says with Trump, Greenland has a better future.
Europe is failing. Britain, Sweden, Belgium, Holland, even Germany. I think he's a great man who wants to have a peace in the world.
Are you popular here for what you're doing for Greenland? A lot of people don't seem to like the idea of joining America under Donald Trump.
I don't care, because they will realize I'm doing the good thing for Greenland.
But it's hard to find anyone else who agrees.
We're part of the Denmark, you know. I don't want him to take Greenland.
I think he's an idiot. It's not a good idea. No, we're our own country. And we would rather be with Denmark than with USA. Trump. Yes.
I think it's ridiculous that he thinks that he can just take our land.
Does it worry you then when he says he wants to take Greenland?
A little bit. Mostly because we don't have the resources to fight against USA.
Wherever we've gone on this journey, the world has been in shock. America used to believe that helping others was good for America, whether that was keeping the peace in Europe, protecting the sovereignty of neighbours, or saving lives. The fear is under President Trump, it is just out for itself.
It's going to be a very hard thing to do business like this, I tell you.
Whether or not that is good for America at home, from what we've witnessed abroad, it is risking millions of lives, the security of allies, and America's own standing in the world, potentially strengthening its enemies, all in the name of putting America first.
Breaking news this hour, the Coast Guard is coordinating an emergency response after an oil and chemical tanker and a cargo vessel collided off the coast of East Yorkshire. You can see the point of collision marked on that map there. That is just not far from the port of Grimsby, of course not very far from Hull as well. A helicopter and lifeboats are providing an emergency response to the incident, which is ongoing. We have a statement from the Coast Guard. They say that His Majesty's Coast Guard is currently coordinating the emergency response to
Service says one of its agents shot an armed man near the White House late on Saturday night. This is the live scene in Washington, D.C. No one else was hurt, and President Trump was not in the building at the time. He's spending the weekend at Mar-a-Lago in Florida. From the Secret Service, it says that an adult male was shot by Secret Service personnel following an armed confrontation with law enforcement in Washington, D.C. He's spending the weekend at Mar-a-Lago in Florida. We have had a statement from the Secret Service. It says that an adult male was shot by Secret Service personnel following an armed confrontation with law enforcement in Washington, D.C. Earlier on Sunday, it says local police shared information about a suicidal individual who may be travelling to Washington from Indiana. Around midnight, members of the Secret Service encountered the individual's parked vehicle near 17th and F Street Northwest. That's close to the White House. They also saw an individual on foot matching the description nearby. As officers approached, the individual brandished a firearm and an armed confrontation ensued, during which shots were fired by our personnel. The suspect was transported to an area hospital and his conditions unknown. There were no reported injuries to Secret Service personnel. These are pictures from the scene of the incident around the intersection at 17th and F Street. They were filmed on Sunday morning, several hours after that shooting happened. It seems all traces of the incident have now gone.
Life is a cocktail, and we're all part of the mix. Together, we shake things up. Britain's #1 vodka, making cocktails since 1864. Smirnoff. And why not try the crisp, refreshing taste of Smirnoff Ice?
It was just after midnight that the man who brought Westminster to a standstill was returned to the ground. A 16-hour standoff between police and a protester who'd climbed up the tower housing Big Ben finally over. The Metropolitan Police say the man was then arrested. The stunt, which began just before 7:30 a.m. on Saturday, was documented across social media.
So I'm currently on the side of Big Ben.
Negotiators were suspended in the air on a crane, pleading with him to end his protest. He'd been sharing videos on Instagram from his viewpoint, saying he'd only come down on his own terms. He proceeded to sit a third of the way up the iconic landmark. Barefoot and with no safety harness, he unfurled a Palestinian flag. Those on the ground looked on in a mixture of horror and fascination.
At first I thought it was an exercise for the emergency services, but because I hadn't seen the man yet, and then when we saw the man we thought, well, this is for real.
If someone can literally get over a wall like that and get up a building that quick with no one stopping them, unbelievable really, isn't it?
How this happened is the key question. Getting into the parliamentary estate requires airport-style security, with some MPs now calling for a full investigation as to how the man so easily gained access into this so-called secure area.
The importance of the sanctity of the parliamentary space in our national democratic life. It's actually about public safety. So none of this should happen, and whatever security there is, even at 7:30 on a Saturday morning, it's clearly not enough.
UK's new MPs last year striding into Parliament. For a party riding high on its polling figures, such a schism as this at the very top presents a deeply uncomfortable moment.
Conference.
The The party yesterday said it had suspended its MP Rupert Lowe and referred him to the police. Reform alleged Lowe had made threats of physical violence against the party chairman. The party said it had also appointed a lawyer to investigate complaints about serious bullying from two women who worked in Mr. Lowe's offices. Lowe, the MP for Great Yarmouth, hit back, denying the allegations and claimed he was being knifed in the back. Then this morning, it descended further into open warfare. Lee Anderson, the party's chief whip, posted on X, "I have a great deal of respect for Rupert Lowe, but his unwillingness to cooperate in an investigation into his behaviour has meant the parliamentary party cannot function effectively whilst Rupert is a Reform UK MP." To which Lowe then replied, "Lee, what you have said is simply not true. Launching this vindictive assault before an investigation has even started is, quite frankly, pathetic." In Great Yarmouth today, events surrounding their MP hadn't gone unnoticed.
He's lost the whip, apparently, but I'm sure they'll rally round and carry on. That happens with every party.
I'm just disappointed because, I really think that the country needs reform, and I want them just to keep it together, because obviously I think, all the other parties like Conservative Labour, they're just ready to tear them apart given any opportunity, and I don't want to see that happen, to be fair.
Tensions emerged back in January when Elon Musk said it was time for Nigel Farage to surrender Reform's leadership, apparently then endorsing Rupert Lowe as a possible successor. Then Lowe, in a newspaper article earlier this week, labelled Reform a protest party led by the Messiah, prompting this angry response.
If I've got a following out there, that's a good thing. If I hadn't, we wouldn't have won any seats in Parliament at all on the 4th of July.
Including Great Yarmouth, I presume you put in that.
Wouldn't have been a cat's chance in hell, would there? Come on, be honest about it.
This was the image Nigel Farage perhaps wanted instead, as a talking point this weekend. 4 Powys County councillors from Mid Wales, previously Tories and Independents, unveiled yesterday as defecting to Reform UK. One of them today urged both sides to find a way in private to end the dispute.
There is infighting, but at the moment it's just that, it's quite isolated, although it's a big infighting issue with 2 of the biggest members or elected MPs. Which is why there's a lot of focus on it.
This is right at the heart of the leadership of the party, isn't it?
Of course it is, and that's why I'm confident that they recognise that they need to sort it out pretty damn quick. Because
and if they don't?
Well, if they don't, it's difficult to work out where they're going to go from here, really. The last thing we want to see is any split or anything like that, and I'm pretty confident that we won't get to that. They must recognise that this has got to be sorted out pretty damn soon.